Hello everyone, it's Dmitry and Surfalytics. Today we'll talk about interesting topic. Probably it's one of the most popular tool in the world for work with data, and this is Excel. Or better to say it's spreadsheets, because some people prefer Microsoft Excel, some people prefer Google Sheets, or maybe there is some people even use Mac OS numbers, and probably there are many other tools to work with data in spreadsheets. So this is our lesson 10, and today we'll cover topic that I call dashboard in a spreadsheet, and I will talk over the process just to help you to brainstorm the process, like how you can start with the building dashboards and what's the dashboard. Yeah, and it's we're not yet ready to start to work with BI tools. And if you know Microsoft Excel, if you know Google Sheets, it's nice. You can even skip this session or you can keep it, because we plan to use data set that I grabbed from Tableau. And Tableau is one of the most popular BI vendor. It calls Superstore, and we will use it in many lessons among my course. So this is course Getting Started with Analytics and Data Engineering. This is just the model 1. We mostly talked before in theory about the teams, about the agile, and now we will dive into hands-on with data and spreadsheets. Let's try, first of all, look overall process, how we can work with the data. For example, right now we're just starting from simple CSV, and we can move towards more complicated topics that we'll cover in the future models and lessons. So right now we, in this step, CSV to Excel dashboard, it means we have CSV file, and you have to know what does mean CSV and what's the alternative, because alternatives could be TSV file, and it could be any other like TXT file, or even sometimes could be JSON files. And you can even use the spreadsheets to connect the database. And the next model number 2, will be actually about database, because the next block I put here is the future lessons. We will dive into model 2. We'll talk about SQL, and we'll talk about relational database and even NoSQL database. So we'll take the same Superstore dataset and we'll upload it into different databases. And then we'll try to answer the same business questions that we'll answer during this lesson, but using the SQL queries. And this will be one step closer to actual analytics, what data analyst or data engineer or BI developer can experience during work, real work. And then the model 3, we will take the same data set, so maybe we'll take our databases on-premise and cloud, and we'll connect to the BI tools. We'll use Tableau, we'll use Looker, and we'll use the Power BI. And we overall will learn what is business intelligence tools, what's BI server, how you share insights, what's the dashboards, what's the best practice of visualizations. And then in the model 4, we'll actually start a bit modify our data set. We'll use ETL. We'll extract the data, we'll transform the data, we'll load data, we'll learn what is dimensional modeling, and we'll use simple open source tool that's quite old but still very powerful. It can work on Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. It calls Pentaho, one of my favorite tool, and it can do everything for you. You even can host it as a server and run your production data warehouse all for free. And I'm not sure about the status of this tool right now, what's the community and how many people use it, but sometimes I see still positions that's still running using this tool. And the model 5 will be about the cloud, and we'll dive into AWS and Azure, because as you know, I'm teaching cloud computing fundamentals in University of Victoria for the last several years, so probably I'm very good in this topic. And myself as a data professional, I use cloud since probably 2013, and I use all kind of source of services in the cloud. I use all kinds of analytics services in AWS and Azure and Google Cloud Platform. And honestly, it doesn't matter what kind of cloud provider you have. You even can run Alibaba or maybe some others. They give you same capabilities for analytics. And the fundamentals, what I'm teaching actually, I'm teaching fundamentals. The fundamentals will be all the same. So after this, we'll dive into data warehouse topics. It's probably Model 6, with Snowflake, Redshift, BigQuery, Azure Synapse, and maybe we'll try DuckDB, ClickHouse, and many others. By the way, probably, I don't know, we should learn dbt, we should learn Fivetran, Matillion, Airflow. There are a bunch of tools. And in Surfalytics community, we actually run a bunch of projects. And we're trying to use 20%, keep our focus on 20% of tools can give us 80% of result. And if you don't know what's your focus should be, you just check my recent article. I published an article on blog post, a Surfalytics blog post about how you can search the job, especially if you're moving to the new area, and what you should focus, how you should go for the different positions, what you should looking for. And this will help you to actually build your resume. And second, to understand what tools you need to learn. And after data warehouse, we'll move to the next topic, to the big data. We'll talk about Hadoop, obviously using the cloud. Probably some companies still using Hadoop on premise, but we'll dive deep into the cloud. There is Elastic MapReduce, there is HG Insight, and after this we're going to Spark lesson, and after Spark lesson will be Delta Lake, and basically we'll be more about Lakehouse. There is Iceberg, with Delta, there is Hoodie. The Hoodie less popular, we'll probably skip it, but Delta and Iceberg, they're worth to learn. We'll look to Athena services, we'll learn to Databricks, and we'll learn Trino. And then after this, we can start dive into streaming and machine learning, as I consider advanced topics. But this is the trick. So for you to actually land the job in this space, you need to finish the first three models. This is databases, SQL, and a bit of cloud, understanding what services and how you can connect to the cloud, how you can run the SQL queries to extract the data, how you can wrangle the data, transform the data, and then the model number 3 is BI tools. So you just need to focus one BI tool and very good knowledge of the SQL. And you build your resume, you have a couple pet projects, you have some experience, real or not, it's not a big deal. It's more about storytelling. And this is part of Surfalytics community. So we actually practice a lot. We have dived into topics, and because we're running real world exercises and we're doing real world projects on most popular tools, we come dbt and Snowflake, we build the dashboards and the model tools, and we're also covering what's the context, why the company focused on this, because in the model 1 so far we'll finish about how the organization is using analytics. So that's why you basically, to succeed, you need to first domain knowledge. You need a bit of understanding what key metrics for this kind of business they want. The company can be interesting, right? The second, you need to have hard skills. So this is your SQL and BI tools, and maybe some extra tools. And by the way, you notice I didn't mention the coding and Python, because for working the data, the Python is nice, but the most important is the SQL. And probably 80 to 90% of all data work nowadays is the SQL. That's why even to land the data engineer jobs, analytics engineer job, you don't need the Python. You need the SQL. You need the SQL, and you need to understand what business wants. That's why another important skill is the soft skill. And for soft skill, you basically need to understand how to collaborate with business stakeholders, what they want, what questions you can ask, how you can document, what kind of documents you can produce. If you do some kind of analysis, how you can understand the patterns and how you can write the business recommendation. Because the job of BI developer or engineer or data analyst is actually provide the business recommendations. And this is what's important. And nowadays, with ChatGPT, you can actually go and train yourself and ask some questions and get the answers, or you come to Surfalytics community, do the same. You ask the questions, and more experienced members will help you to answer all the questions and gain all experience you need. So this is, we just briefly covered what you expect in the future after the first hands-on. And why Excel? Because it's actually very simple. In Excel spreadsheet, and not only Excel, it could be Google Sheet. So in the spreadsheet, we have rows and we have columns. And this is tabular data format. And this is actually how the data warehouse storing the data, and even data lake, big data, all those things, even like petabytes of data, they're storing in the tabular format. And the query languages, it could be SQL is the most popular, or it could be anything else. They work with tabular format. That's why if you understand how you can wrangle the data in the spreadsheet with like 10 rows and 5 columns, it means you can do the same with like 100 billion rows with like 200 columns. And those tables exist. And sometimes people need to access those data. And then the questions arise. They're more complicated, not how to query this data, but how actually query this data cost efficiently, or how to find the documentations about this, or how to make sure that data is accurate, like about data quality. All those topics we'll cover as well. Okay. What other frequently asked questions about spreadsheets? What alternatives? So I just mentioned there's Google Sheets, there's Numbers, there's Microsoft Excel. In terms of the dashboards, because our lesson is building dashboard in Excel, and I already have the pre-built dashboards for you that I'm going to share it. It was built one of our Surfalytics members, Nikita. He's actually very successful. He landed his one job. That already increased his salary almost like 50%. And after this, he landed another job. After he picked up like more skills like DBT, Snowflake, and Looker, he transformed himself from data analyst to analyst engineer. That boosted his salary again on like 30%. Basically, less than the year, Nikita was able to double his income, just purely focusing on the interviewing skills, better understand how work with stakeholders, and learn the most critical tools for his job. And he really succeeded this, and he helps other members. And if you join Surfalytics, you probably will participate in the project that Nikita ran. What else? Yeah, type of the dashboards. So usually the dashboards should be interactive, right? And you can, then you hear the word dashboard, you can think about, or some charts, or some data, maybe tables, maybe charts. And by interactive, I mean this dashboard is not static. It's not like just printed page of the paper. It's actually interactive in the way that you can change the filters. For example, you want to change product category, you want to change time range to, to extend like from 2 years to 1 year, or you want to narrow down to particular month, or you can do the drill downs, or starting high level metrics and then drill down to like particular metrics and look to particular category or any other things. So alternative of the interactive dashboards that we also can consider as the self-service dashboards, because idea of the dashboard that people who work with data, like data analysts, BI developers, analytics engineers, and data engineers, they want to build some kind of data product. And the dashboard is a data product that they can give to the business person. You can think about sales manager, marketing manager, or it could be even VP of particular org department, or could be anyone in the company who not skilled enough to build dashboard themselves, but they need the data to make the decisions, to see the business performance and answer their questions. So the dashboard should tell the story, but more about this in the model 3, about visualization, chart types and everything. But here the idea, if the dashboard is interactive and give the ability to users to answer not just one question, so like several questions, but actually answer many more questions by changing the filters, changing visualization types, jumping from one dashboard to another, using hyperlinks and apply the filters, drill downs. This is interactive dashboards. This is self-service. This is our goal. But the static dashboard sometimes is good enough. And I will show you one example of the static dashboard, and I will tell you the story how this was really boring job for me to build this dashboard every day. And then eventually I moved to the BI tool. I used Tableau and I rebuilt this dashboard, and instead like 2 hours a day, I spent like a couple of minutes just to click one button to refresh it and generate still the static dashboard. And also, our ideal way of doing things is auto refresh, right? We don't want to build the dashboard and spend our time, like developers' time, so data analyst time. That is quite expensive. We don't want that people spend time doing this kind of manual work because their time is expensive. They can do other more important things. So what's the pros and cons of spreadsheets? So first, let's start from the pros. Is the cell structure. So in databases, like in relational databases, we don't have cell structure. Usually we work on the rows and the columns level. So we can aggregate one column, or we can filter a certain number of rows, or we can select several numbers of columns. In spreadsheets, as you know, probably everyone did some kind of budgeting or calculate the cost of renovation, so they're like student loan, and so on and so on. You can type informations in the different cells and then connect them together and do whatever you want. You are very flexible. And anyway, the Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Windows is very popular because probably the students from elementary school getting their laptops with Microsoft Windows. Myself, then I was probably grade 2, grade 3, then I first time got access to computer in computer class. We probably have like Windows 95, something like this, and it's already had the Microsoft Office. Yeah, we probably only use the Paint and play card game or minor game, but the Office was there. That's why for any kind of your interaction with the computer, you just start using Windows products, and Microsoft Office is one of them. And because alternative is macOS, just more expensive. Okay. It's still very good for small and medium business companies or like startups because you don't need anything. Everyone can understand. You can pull the data from any tool, from anywhere. You can drop it into spreadsheet. You can do some little manipulations. You can build some kind of visualizations. You can share the file. You can share a result. You can print it. You can insert it into PowerPoint presentations. You can insert it to Word document, or you can just send in email. So it's very convenient. Everyone understands this. Yeah, everyone, including business users, they already know Excel. So for them, even if it's just CSV file, they can open CSV file in Excel, and obviously the same. So now let's consider the cons. So as soon as you get certain number of like rows, I don't know, depends on the version. It could be a million rows, it could be more or less. It's really can't fit the data. Also, if you have lots of data, it's really memory consumption. If you have many different tables and data sources, you can consider one table as one sheet, right? You can define some kind of joins, pivot tables, whatever. But as soon as you have many of them, it's really hard to start to work on them and easy to lose. Then there is no way to proper like version control. You probably know the situation. You have like this spreadsheet version 1, this is spreadsheet version 2, this is spreadsheet version 2 final, and this is spreadsheet version 2 final, and so on and so on. You can produce as many files as you want, and you never know which one is the last version. So, and sometimes it crash. If your computer crash, you can like lost all your work. For automatizations, obviously Excel is not best choice, but I know some people, it's their bread and butter building automation Excel using Visual Basic. So this is very specific skill set, and also nowadays there is the option to using Power Query, and as a result, people who using the Power Query and they're using lots of spreadsheets, they can easily switch to the Power BI, and because it has really similar interface. And I think this is one of the reasons why Power BI is very popular. But it doesn't mean the Power BI is great tool. And on the Model 3, we'll dive deep into different BI tools and we'll compare pros and cons. So, okay, let's now consider the development cycle, right? Assuming you have your task. Like right now, you have the task. If you're gonna do assignment, you have the task. You have to build the dashboard. You can think that someone give you the data set, like raw data set, right? it can look like transactional data, for example. And one transaction can represent the one sale. So you have the date, you have the product name, you have the category, you have some quantity, you have sales amount, and so on and so on. So you can produce a bunch of logic, right? You can build some visualizations, you can build the tables, and we will have some questions for you to answer. And your dashboard should answer those questions. If you don't know, and in the real world situation, then you work in the company, you probably need to work with the business stakeholders. Let's, as usual, assume there is marketing manager. They can ask you the question, hey, I want to know how many visitors we have on our website for like daily. And what's the average session of every user on our website. And break by page, or maybe, and also interesting, the source information. So they give you some context, then probably your next question should be, okay, where is the data? How I can get the data, where I can download it, and you need to understand like each metric, what it actually represent. Then they tell you average session. So maybe there is the metric exists in the Google Analytics average session, maybe not. That's why you need instantly think about how you're going to calculate this. Like what's average session, right? Basically it's beginning of the session, end of the session, right? For each user we can calculate time, like using timestamp of the end minus timestamp of the begin. You have time for each user, and then you can divide by number of users per day. This is your average session. And what's about median session, right? We dive jumping from like simple average to the median. And this is another very interesting questions, median versus average, right? There is popular joke about median versus average. Imagine San Francisco, you're in the bus, you're going to work. And then like CEO of Twitter, like because it's the old joke, CEO of the Twitter, like entering the bus. What's the average of every person in the bus, right? To find the average, you will sum the total value of each passenger in the bus, including the CEO of the Twitter, who's like $10 billion, and divide on number of people in the bus, right? And it's like hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, nice, right? But it's not true. But if you actually see the median will give you more honest answer. Yeah, but it was like topic aside. Let's back to our development cycle. Yeah, because development cycle here, starting from the questions, how you get the data, right? You cannot do anything if you don't have data. Your step number one, you need to get the data. You need to know where you can get the data, right? And basically for your resume, for everything you have a resume, like whatever, it doesn't matter what you do, build the dashboards, build report, build the pipeline. You need to know where actually you get the data. So that's very important, right? Because you can get CSV, you can download from any kind of services, you can write the SQL queries, someone can run SQL query for you and give you a result set. And, or maybe some people prefer like take the dashboard that someone built, like really nice dashboards that people spend like a month to build. And then you can extract the data in the CSV or spreadsheet. This is nightmare for the BI developer or like data analyst, and people use the expert thing from the dashboards into spreadsheets to do their calculations, but it's life. It happens everywhere. So that's the thing. So somehow you need the data, right? Maybe it's Salesforce, you go into Salesforce, you generate your custom report, maybe it's delivered to you every day, so you have the data. The next step, you should think in the way that one sheet represents one service and one table. Of course, you can using one sheet and just create many tables and somehow like wrap them, but let's be honest. Let's try to produce the clear things, right? Let's try to work nicely. One sheet, one data set, like one table. So what you can do next? So the simple way, and what we actually do in our exercise, we're using the pivot, right? The pivot, then you can create the pivot, and then you can choose the columns, rows, aggregations, filters, and you will get cross table. And this cross table can answer many questions. This is probably one of the most popular things for the business users because they can build their own dashboards. So you can do another thing, right? You can start building charts and building aggregation tables right on top of data you have, just even without a pivot. Or you can do more advanced things, like if you know the Power Query, if you're a Power user, and if you don't know, you can still learn it yourself. And this gives you some automation way, because you can even create your own ETL. ETL, I mean like data transformation pipeline. You can extract the data, transform and load. And this is very simple. So you can connect external databases, you can connect files. I don't, maybe it's possible to connect like even API services, who knows? Because I didn't work with Power Query myself. So, but I bet everything possible there. And then as soon as your data is ready, you can build your dashboard. And then the question, how are you gonna sharing the dashboard, right? You can use like Excel files, or G Sheet, URL, or PDF, PowerPoint, Microsoft Word. Or you can email this. Email is a file and people can open and do the thing they want. Or you can upload just to the shared drive. People can download it and use it. So this is how the business users using it. Okay, this is what we have. Let me first now show you GitHub. This is GitHub. This is related to the course, Model 1, and Spreadsheet dashboard. So here I have several files. So README file, this is README file, just the task. And this is like key metrics that you need to find. This is our sales data. This is one of the most popular kind of the metrics, and probably every company in the world have more or less those kind of metrics. And the idea here, from row level data, like there we have like transactional data, like each individual sales transaction, you need to get some kind of aggregation data. And usually then you have aggregation data, you want to, for example, calculate the sales amount over like certain period or certain like product type or category. And this is the things that you might try to get. And some ideas, right? You can try use the pivot, you can try to build dashboard report. For me, the difference between dashboard and report, like it's just the same. But I usually consider it, if we'll talk about BI tools, like one sheet, one visualizations, right? For example, if we take Tableau, right? One visualization, it's a report. But if I combine multiple visualizations and tables together, it's the dashboard. But it doesn't really matter. So you can use like lookup, probably is the most popular function, but there are many different functions. So this is the row level data, and this is the dashboard. Before we're moving to this, I want to tell you one story. Then I work as a marketing data analyst, and it was in Montenegro. By the way, Montenegro is a very nice country. If you've never been, like, it's definitely better than Canada. Maybe economically it's not that great, but I really like this country. So that's what was my story. So starting work as a marketing analyst, I get assignment. Every day I should manually download the data from database and update my spreadsheet. In my spreadsheet, I had multiple pivot tables, and then I basically update my dashboard every day. So this dashboard, like you see, it's like 2014, right? It was many years ago. It has the marketing data and sales data, and I have to update it. And first it was maybe then like 20-30 minutes, but because I was doing it every day, right? Update all my queries, update all my pivot tables, then update this. Sometimes I have like more rows than expect, and like I need to modify everything. So it was not that good, and I didn't have enough skills to using like any kind of automation for Excel, and there were a bunch of limitations how I was getting the data. So my solution was to use Tableau. I already had some skills in Tableau, and what I did, I directly connect Tableau to the database. I was able to build similar thing in Tableau. And then I just, every day I come to work, I just click one button, I get the fresh dashboard, I generate the PDF, and I send to the managers. Ideal way of things in case if you would have a Tableau server or any other BI server, and you have Tableau desktop where you can able to build the BI, your dashboard, and then you publish to the server, then the people can get the fresh dashboard themselves, or they get like alerts or emails about the dashboard. Yeah, this was story and lesson learned. Like, don't try to do these kind of things manual. So one of the best advantage for people who work with data tools is automation. One of your success stories, you actually, just from the spreadsheets examples, you can have two really nice success stories for your interviews. Number one is automation. Like, you can tell how painfully to build the dashboards without proper BI tools, without SQL, just trying to scrub the data manually, stitch together, and produce the dashboard. The second use case is migration. Assuming you join the company and it has like 200 financial reports and spreadsheets. All of them more or less the same, and all of them equally important. What to do? It's actually very simple. To solve this problem, you go with stakeholders, you understand which one more important, which one less important, and maybe among 200 reports, this was my real case in Amazon. Among those 200 reports, you identify that only 30 is most important, and you convert them from spreadsheets to Tableau or any other BI tool. This is your second success story. And this will already give you boost in productivity and the boost productivity to the whole organization, where you can apply your skills. Of course, while you're doing this kind of migration, you go dive deep into logic, you can understand how the transformation works, and probably there could be a bunch of legacy things, outdated, broken, that you can clean and document. The documentation is probably the third really important use case that you can talk over interview, and the data quality as well. So let's try to look to the data. So first of all, let's look to the data. So this is the data set. We have around 10,000 rows. We have row ID that just represents row ID, order date, ship mode, customer ID, customer name. Customer name we can consider as a PI data, like person identifiable data. That is shouldn't be in data warehouse. By the way, that's tricky question. Like, someone can ask you, did you work with customer data, like personally defined data? You should know. Actually, in data warehouse, we don't have any personally definable data. The customer ID is fine. So the country, states, postal code, product ID, category, and we have some metrics. So on the model 3, we'll dive deeper in terms of what's dimensions, what's the measure or metric, but idea is very simple. If you can quantify this, like you can sum it, like sales quantity, that's the metric or measure. And dimensions like date, product name, this is that you use for your context to show the metrics. And probably the profit, it's how you can like quantify your sales and cost of goods. I don't see any cost of goods, so this is just the profit. We have two more tabs, one of the people and another is returns. That's, for example, if you decide to build like returns dashboards, then you can join order ID, and that's actually nice. The join exercise in the spreadsheet is very nice because it gives you idea how the joins works before you actually will start work in the SQL for the joins. Okay, and now let's look to the dashboard. This is the dashboard. So you see the same data set, but it has slightly formatted, and it already has extra columns, right? It has returned, it has period, it has the person, right? Some additional information. It says customer count, order count, like some extra metrics that you can see. And all the same metrics you can calculate, for example, in the SQL or in BI tool. And the thing is that every tool and every databases, they have own syntax, but idea is the same. If we're using simple like count if in spreadsheet, there is similar thing in SQL, but it will be like in SQL you usually don't have if, but you have case when statements. And I think here in spreadsheets you can also find the case when. So the first step, we can build the pivot, right? So if we click insert and click we want the pivot, so we can choose the data range, and then we can specify where we want to have it. Right, this is my pivot. That's simple. I just see all my tab. We already have one big table. This is the pivot. And now I can say, for example, I want to have, like in rows, I want to have shipping mode, and I can see, let's go to the metrics. And we can see quantity. So we can see which, like standard class has the most shipping orders. And we can also break by maybe category. This is our cross table, right? And this information already, we can visualize this. And we can also add, for example, the date, like shipping date, order date, and we can see historical trend. And one tip for you, if you want to visualize the data, you don't need to think about any complicated kind of visualization. You just need two charts. One is the timeline, like with line, if you have time, like days, months, years. If you want to see like continuous line, and you can see how the metric change over the time, this is lines. If you don't have any dates like dimensioned or times dimension, then you can use bar chart. Bar chart could be vertical, it could be horizontal. For example, you have like I don't know, like category 1, category 2, category 3. Sometimes you can use like stacked chart, because inside category you can have like 4 products, right? And you can use different colors to show inside one bar. You can stack it like different categories. Yeah, sometimes you can mix. You have your sales, and then you have your bar charts, but it's like dual axis charts. We'll talk more about charts and visualization types during the model 3. So this is, we create just random pivot table, and we can see what we have here. So actually here we have many more pivot tables, and each tables represent something. And this is just manual text that was entered, like just to not forget what is this. So, and then for each pivot table, we can build representations in the dashboard. So, and this is our dashboard, right? So we have filters that we can change. We have KPI metrics. We have year over year. We have sales and profit dynamic. We have top 5 customers by segment. We have sales profit by category and profit by state. So that's this dashboard we can pass to the sales team, and they can use those filters. They can answer a bunch of the questions. So basically, your assignments to build some kind of dashboards. Don't try to reproduce the same dashboards. Even if you just build like 3-4 charts, you don't need many, right? Even if it will be just static without filters, it's nice, but try to think about, you need the title, you need multiple charts, and try to add filters. If you will be able to add those KPI things, they're very nice on the dashboards, especially executive dashboards. That would be awesome. And you see, we hide all lines, right? It's white, and color-wise, it's very easy to read. That's your goal. Like when you build the dashboard, it should be like all kinds of colors, different. Because I know some people like this has one font, this is another font size, and like this is transparent, this is not. No, we don't want. We want really nice and clean dashboard. So that's basically it. with this lesson, we finished the model 10, and we're ready to moving to the databases and SQL. And we even try NoSQL database. See you, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe.